to 100,000 would be tax-free. You all remember that? If that had happened in 2007, where would we have been today? Now they're taxing us in every manner, In every manner they're taxing us. We need to simplify it. One of the most outrageous tax is the house tax. You know why? You know why? Property tax. You buy piece of land, you pay tax. You build a house, on everything you pay tax. You already pay, right? Now government want to tax you, tax on tax. But here this one, they're going to now send somebody to evaluate what is your rental value. Rental value, right? They say maximum if you have an outside toilet, 400 for the year. 400. So my recommendation was scrap all the toilets inside and build one outside. So it means to say that their policies are retrograde. They're sending you back to the Middle Ages. They're sending you back to the Middle Ages. Sorry. Then when you introduce, let me ask Senator how much time. Yeah. So they are sending you back to the Middle Ages. Now, when they send somebody, let's say 100 persons, walk through that and evaluate, they ask you, is it porcelain tiles, is it this tile? You don't want nobody in your home. Am I right or wrong? So they will come and give you a rental valuation on your property. No problem. Our next one will come give you a different rental value. The market for properties is getting softer and softer and softer. So if the government come and say this property is worth, let's say 10,000 for the month, the option has to be government come and rent it and give me the 10,000. Am I right? That is the test. That is the test. That is the test. Let the government come and rent it and give me the 10,000. They are going to confuse all the citizens. Some people who have a lot of money, and there's a lot of people who still have a lot of money. They don't mind paying. I'm saying if they want to pay, make it voluntary. You want to pay property tax? Who want to pay property tax? Come and pay. We have to simplify our tax system. Government is charging you duty at the port. Am I right? Duty at the port. They charge you sales tax. They charge you VAT. Right? So by the time they finish with you, that dollar you spend, 50-60% going to government. We need to simplify the taxes. What are taxes apart from raising government? Government, of course, they are overspending money now. Trinidad cannot afford a large civil service as that. So how do they reduce, but use whatever little money we have for investments in creating jobs? Creating jobs. Create industries in such a way throughout Trinidad and Tobago that we don't have to spend, how much? 1 month a year just on the road? Aren't we wasting money? All of us traveling, we in traffic, put on a nice music and air condition. You know how much energy is wasted? How much work you could do from home? So we need to set up satellite industries throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Now you're not going to see any of this in the budget, and therein lies the problem. Therein lies there is not a budget. If let's say my chief financial officer present that to me at the board, I will say go back and do over your budget. Don't waste people time. So the opposition has to be strong enough to know what a good budget should be, what it should contain, not 4 hours of speaking, but it must have a content. And I will urge the opposition to develop a proper content for the budget and teach the government so that when you get into government, you would have already practiced. And having said it, you are not going to misrepresent yourself. You'll be ashamed that if you go into government and overturn good practices, right? So let me leave you with that. I'll be open to questions. But we need I could end by saying don't expect much from the budget, and try to live a life within your means and survive. One last point I want to say. They are bread and butter issues. Bread and butter issues, right? Foreign exchange is very scarce. Government a few years ago, they told the insurance companies you can invest in foreign investment from 20% to 25%. And I was shocked. Isn't that a higher demand for foreign exchange? No. Some banks are investing abroad. They invest in Ghana, they invest in Jamaica. They're losing money like hell. And we can't get money to buy basic things, medicine and so on. So we have to find out and ask the government what is their plan to ensure that FX is distributed equitably. Equitably. You cannot leave it to the banks. You cannot leave it to the banks. And they should be in a position to ask each bank for now, what is your policy with regards to sale of foreign exchange? Just ask them, what is your policy? FCB, what is your policy? Scotiabank, what is your policy? Their policy is who they know. Well, let them put it in writing. And who taking loan. So they have their priorities. And that's where central bank. That foreign exchange, and my last point, belongs to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. It belongs to Trinidad and Tobago, nobody else. Central bank, as an agent of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, is given the charge to manage that well in our interest. In our interest, right? So hopefully we can discuss this more as we go along, and the opposition could have the power and the knowledge to say these are the things we want. Take back the budget and redo it. Take back the budget and redo it. You haven't identified the needs of the country, and all this foolishness about big buildings here, there and everywhere. Show us the feasibility study. Show us the feasibility study. And the parliament, including the opposition, should have the strength and to change the laws in such a way that they must participate in looking at all these major expenditure above a certain limit, and must have approval of the whole parliament, whether 2/3 majority or whatever. Yeah, well, thank you, and I'm here. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. My brothers and sisters, put your hands together for Ved Siram. Before I introduce the next speaker, everyone in this audience knows what is a budget, because you carry out budgetary expenditure every month, and you know what a budget is. So just as you in your household having your little kakada, your little income every month, and you have to juggle with those sums, you have to deal with your expenses. Many of us and so on are in deficit. We have minus figures every month. So just as how we have our own household budgets, we have a national budget. And I think the point that Vade was making to all of us, and we must always remember this: what is life? What is the purpose of life? Why do we have governments? The purpose of our existence is to ensure that all the resources are combined in a way to serve the common good. And at the end of the day, what is the common good? It is happiness. 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 That is what life is about. Ved Siram told us a short while ago that the whole issue is priority. Priority. $500 billion, $500 billion. What are the priorities? That is the issue. Is it food for the people? Is it clothing and for the people? Is it shelter for the people? Is it health care for the people? Or is it, brothers and sisters, thieving and thieving and thieving for the 1% in Trinidad and Tobago? What is the problem? That is the issue. Brothers and sisters, $500 billion, $500 billion. And where are we today? People are poorer. People are suffering. People are catching their uncle, their aunt, and their nenen and asking the question, where the money gone? Where the money gone? Why are people suffering and starving and dying? Why it is parents, the women in the household, they cannot eat or have 3 square meals a day? Why they have to be skipping meals? Brothers and sisters, enough is enough, is enough, is enough. We cannot continue how we are going. We cannot continue how we are going. When Basdio Pandey was there, we had a budget of 12 billion. We have a fella called Keith Rowley in power, 60 billion. But you know what? People still catching their aunt, nene, and uncle with 60 billion. But when Pandey and then Sister Kamla came, everybody was eating. Everybody was walking. Everybody was enjoying themselves in Trinidad and Tobago. Brothers and sisters, you know what happened? We spent the money on you. Under Kamla, we spent the money on you. Under Pandey, we spent the money on you. You know, under Kamla, we settled 135 collective agreements involving trade unions. You know how much was the value of that? $6 billion. $6 billion. So the ordinary man, the middle class, the policeman, the nurses, the doctors, the policeman, the fire officer, the prison officer, the ordinary worker, brothers and sisters, they were able to go home with some money and they were able to spend and they were happy. You know what PNM did for them? Give them 4%, 4 cents in every dollar. What the hell that could do for you? Brothers and sisters, let us understand something. The 1% in this country, the elite in this country, are reaping all the riches, all the benefits. Rowley went on TV and tell the country, you know what is my philosophy? You know what is my ideology? To make the rich richer, to get the rich richer. And he said, whatever crumbs fall from the table of the rich, you must be there to pick it up and hold up. What the hell is this? Brothers and sisters, we don't want that. We want an equal and level playing field. We want everybody to be prosperous in Trinidad and Tobago. We don't want to be begging nobody. Every man and woman who is able to work, capable of working, has a skill, must be able to work, get a proper wage, a proper salary, and be able to live decently in this country, own their own home, brothers and sisters. Yeah, we need equity in this society. Too much advantage. And a UNC government will bring an end to this inequity, this injustice in this country, brothers and sisters. And that is why we are having these consultations, show the land, so we can get your views and your input. So let me introduce you to our final speaker before you take over. The meeting is about you today. Our final speaker is a young economist. His name is Dominic Smith. He will share with you briefly his perspective as it relates to this economy and this society. And when he's through with his presentation, I will open the floor and invite every single one of you in this audience to come on this platform where I am and speak to Trinidad and Tobago, and speak to the Caribbean, and speak to the world about the suffering that you are going through, your family is going through, your communities are going through, your country is going through, and why we cannot take another 5 years of this criminal P&M government in this country, brothers and sisters. That is what we have to ensure. So welcome at this time, young, brilliant economist Dominic Smith. Welcome, Dominic.
Thank you so much. I want to say a special thanks to the leadership of the party for having given me the opportunity to speak here with all you lovely people. And I think the sentiment so far is really resonating with a quote that I just looked up here. And it sort of also takes into consideration what I want to speak to you guys about tonight. And it says, we cannot be mere consumers of good governance or any governance. We must be participants. We must be co-creators. And I am happy to see so many people here this afternoon on a Wednesday. Flooding happening around the country. After work, a full house in Port-of-Spain, because we are active co-creators of our society. So give yourself a round of applause. And so, in the sentiment of Comrade Mark and my other good brother here, quite an experienced camper. I came up here with an iPad. He came up here with his two hands. And he was speaking freely, right? So there's something to be said about experience. But I hope tonight that I can share some knowledge that I have on 3 specific issues that I want to speak about as it relates to the economy. And those 3 issues that I want to talk to you about, he covered a bit of it. One is the debt to GDP issues that we have in Trinidad and Tobago. The second one touches very uniquely at everyone's table in Trinidad and Tobago as citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, and that is the issue of inflation, and in particular, food inflation. And I'm going to give you a bit of data as it relates to that second topic. And the third issue, and this is an issue I think a lot of young people are feeling the brunt of. It's an issue that has been happening for the past decade. 9 years with a P&M government, unfortunately, has caused a lot of disenchantment in our young people. And one of the main issues arising out of the youth is what? Jobs, unemployment, underemployment. These are critical issues that we are facing in a Trinidad and Tobagonian society. And then you'll ask yourself, why is there a level of criminality occurring in our society? And I want to ask you today, when you look at the papers and you see what is happening in Tobago, who are the people that are being killed on our streets? How old are they? Young people. I would consider myself young. I'm 36 years of age. But when I see the 18 and 19-year-olds and 16 and 15-year-olds in criminality, and when mothers have to go now and bury their dead, shame on the P&M. And I have to get emotional because this is our country. And we have to take these issues seriously. And we have to be active participants in our democracy. And this is what it will take. It will take people of empathy. It will take feeling to get back our country to where it needs to be. And so I digress a little bit. And forgive me for being passionate. But this is something we all need to get passionate about. And the theme of my contribution tonight is the time is now. It's not yesterday. It's not the week gone. It is not last year. It's not 5 years ago. Friends, the time is coming soon where you can be an active participant in your democratic process. And let me tell you something. When they come and they give you the $500, I want you to think about the $500 trillion that they've spent in the last 9 years. And think about whether or not that pocket change that they give you when the election bell rings, if that is going to cover you for the next 5. Think about the 500 plus murders, 600 last year, when they come around with their flags and they wave a red banner. I want you to think about whether or not it is worth it to give these people another shot at your future, at your children's future, at their children's future. You see, we cannot be selfish in our approach to the way we manage this country. And I'm digressing from the economics because I want to say to Trinidad and Tobago, you have an important decision to make. In Pakistan, you know what they did recently? They stormed the streets, or it was Bangladesh. They stormed the streets, and you know what happened? The next day, resignations. But in Trinidad and Tobago, what do we get? Nothing. We don't get resignations here in Trinidad. You know what we get? Excuses down the line. You need you having problems at home? You having issues? Well, tighten your belt. Right? The economy is bad since 2016 apparently. And the Prime Minister asks us to what? You will need to tighten your belt, adjust your belt a little bit. How long we tightening with belts under this administration? I mean, come on. How long? It's too tight now. It's leaving a mark on your belly. Right? It's too tight because it's years and years and years and years. And you know what they will tell you? Well, don't worry about that. Right? The UNC this and the UNC that. And it's always a blame game. A blame game with this government. And we have to stand up and say enough is enough. The time is now. And I want to tell you, I had a nice long prepared speech here. I had a nice little, I was gonna go through the economics and show you what is happening right before your eyes. And what Mr. Taxman, the only thing you know about is taxonomics. Because he is taxing you directly, indirectly, while you're sleeping, while you're awake, and it is not stopping. And so, friends, let me tell you something. When you go by the fuel pump and you put in your gas, and for those of us who had the privilege of being able to afford a car, and you know you save up your little $40,000 and you went and buy a car, and you went by the pump and you could have put a $60, right, in super. You know what he said? I am an incompetent finance minister. There are no alternative revenue sources that I can generate as a competent engineer, and so I will, you know what? I will reduce the subsidy on gas. Let them feel it. And we didn't say nothing, you know why? Because Trinidadians are a type of people full of love and relaxation, right? Well, they ain't riot yet, as my good friend said. So I could jam them some more, right? So we have that situation happening, right? And then, as a thief in the night, do you know how much money has been withdrawn from, as we call, the petty cash, right? You call that the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. Do you know why that was enacted in Trinidad and Tobago? It is because it is believed that in a country who is naturally exposed with natural gas, there's a concept worldwide that says the people have an inheritance from what is naturally acquired from our country. And so the main purpose of a stabilization fund is meant to be yours and mine and the people's. And anytime they come as a thief in the night on December in 2023 and they took out $163 million US dollars from the Heritage and Civilization Fund. And you know, if someone says anything, any renowned person, economist or otherwise, it is a problem. They're not patriotic, right? They're always looking for problems. They should think positive. What is there to think positive about in Trinidad and Tobago? You tell me. Flooding in every single community in Trinidad and Tobago. Tell me what we should be proud of. Infrastructure on decline. Go to a school, a public school in Trinidad and Tobago. Go to the bathrooms. Go to the classrooms. And you tell me what our children have to be proud about in a classroom of filth. You tell me. Nothing. People are trying to earn a living, taxiing. Imagine that. Criminality has become such a thing in Trinidad. You plying your little trade to become a taximan and providing a service to the public. Do you know how much taximen have been kidnapped in this country in the last year? And they're not only kidnapping you, they're killing you. In the past, I remember my mother used to say, well, you know, if you get hold up, and it's unfortunate that you might get hold up, just give them everything. You know, just take out your wallet, give them. You know now, it is shoot first and take the stuff after. That is where we reach in this country. And let me tell you something, there's a why. And we have to understand, as a country, there is always a why when these things are happening. Because if you have a government that says, I love you, I care about you, I will do things that are in your best interest. Let me ask you a question. If I want to move this table here, don't I take actions towards moving this table? And if I want to move it to the left, don't I take actions to move it to the left? So if I stand here on this podium and I tell you I want to move this table, and I go and I talk to my friend, Comrade Mark, for 9 years, what am I saying to you? I am not interested in moving that table. And that is because, friends, there's something called systems thinking. System thinking tells us that where there's a purpose, there's action associated with that purpose. And so if there's no action to reduce crime in this country, it means that is not part of your plan. And if it's not part of your plan, it means that you never wanted to do it in the first place. And so, friends, I'm speaking to you here tonight, and most people would know. In my private, my friends would tell you. I grew up in Tunapuna, St. Augustine, and I moved to Port of Spain as a result of work. And they would look at Dominic and they would say, hey, Dominic is a quiet fellow. Are someone quiet? Trust me, in my personal time, I'm a quiet person. I'm a very calculated person, right? But when I see injustice being done to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, you have to stand up and say, no means no. Now is the time. We're not taking it anymore. We've had enough. And this must be the straw that breaks your back. This must be the straw that breaks the camel's back, friends. Because when this budget is put in the parliament again, as my friend says, they underestimate the value of the budget all the time. And we would see it in the Senate. Because in the mid-year review, they come back and tell you, well, we estimated that we needed X million dollars. But if you could give us an additional 100 and something million, that's what we really need. So ask yourself again, if you knew that you needed that in the past, shouldn't you also know what you need in the future? If you are a logical, well thought out government, a government of efficiency and operational prudence, a government that has intellectuals and they have persons from all over the world, experts coming to tell us what to do and what not to do. You tell me why after 9 years we must be holding on to the coattails of our Latin American counterparts to steady a future for Trinidad and Tobago. You tell me why. You tell me if you believe in development, as the economists would say, development economics. When you borrow for developmental purposes. And let me tell you something, when they borrow, and they have been borrowing, they have borrowed so much that every single time you look at the Parliament channel, you know what we are paying on? We are paying principal on loans that we have already used. Did you know that? When they come and they ask you for additional revenue in the Parliament, it's not that they're saying, hey, I'm taking $150 million and I'm going to build a community center in your community for your children so they could represent Trinidad at the Olympics and they can make us proud. You know what they're using that money for? To pay interest and loans for money they have already spent. What then is left for our children and their future? And you want to tell me that's exactly, and no pun intended, but let me tell you something. A man without money in his pocket, it's better you give him the gun and say, that is yours. And that is your portion. Because as a young man, if he can't provide for his family, let me tell you something. That is the most emasculating thing you can do to a young man. And everyone that you see on the papers, who are they? Young men. Young men fighting. Young men waiting for opportunity when no opportunity is had. And because a system has been created, an underground system, a system of drugs and narcotics, and as much as they say it's not there, we know that it's there. And when you create that system and you say, young man in the community, this is all that I have for you in 2024, what are they to do? And then you blame the little black boy, right? When he do a robbery, right? And you say, oh, his parents this and his parents that, and you do have a home. You have failed as a government to give them opportunities. You have failed them. You have failed our children in the education system when you go in the Parliament and you say you are preparing our students for the 21st century. Not a topic on artificial intelligence is in the school system. We're still learning computer science. The global community is moving into the age of AI and technology and remote work. And where are our children? What they listening? What they reading about? What are they reading about? What is on our syllabus? What is preparing them for the jobs of the future? And so when you lay out a budget, friends, an economist would tell you there's a purpose behind that. You have various pillars. You have your housing pillar. You have your infrastructure pillars. You have your financial pillars. You have your obligations that you're going to set out, right? You have housing. You have healthcare. You have security. And if you look at the percentages in the national budget as it relates to those things, you can get a sense of the priorities of our country. Do you know that 23% of our allocation in a budget usually goes to infrastructure? Go outside. Take a taxi on the road, on the Ryson Road. Go in Dego Mountain. Go in Couva. Go in Deep South. And then you know what? You know what they'll send out? They'll send out the good fellas in the white to give you a ticket while your light mash up and your tire need air. And your tint is too dark because only a tint can solve crime in 2024 in Trinidad and Tobago. So friends, as I told you, completely off script. I've used nothing from this speech. And so, what does that say to you? It's from the heart. It's from the heart. And that is where we'll fight this government, from the heart. Because we're not taking this stupidness no more. We're tired. We're fed up. The time is now. So I want to encourage everyone in Port of Spain. They say Port of Spain is a PNM country. I want to tell them every constituency in Trinidad and Tobago is up for grabs in this next general election. Everyone. And if you think it's safe, go on the ground, listen to people. They don't want you here anymore. We had enough. We fed up. It's time for change. And if you're sleeping on the job, it's best to get off the ride. If you can't do the job, give someone else a chance. If you don't know what you're doing, get someone with some competence. And if you just don't care, well, you could leave Trinidad, as our Prime Minister says. Because you are not welcome where you are not working towards the development of Trinidad and Tobago and its citizens. This is our country. And we will take it back. And we will do what Kamala Persad-Bissessar has done in her tenure of last. Because let me tell you something. Words are many, but action. Show me someone with action, a person of action. And there you will see the fruits of her works. So I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak. And be hopeful, because soon, very soon, a change will come. But the time is now.
Wow. Put your hands together for our colleague, man. A young, dynamic, brilliant, brilliant economist. Yeah, man. Now, brothers and sisters, as I told you earlier on, we have several of these meetings taking place almost simultaneously throughout the country. So at 7 p.m. this evening, we are going live, we are going live from 5 this evening until 7, 2 hours. From 7 p.m. this evening, we are going live to a place called La Hoqueta Talparo, where we have Sister Jolyn John. She is in La Hoqueta Talparo. So, I tell you this, so that when you come to this mic where I am standing to make your input, we want you to be efficient. We want you to speak for about 3 minutes. Say what you have to say like Dominic, and think from your heart. No, you don't want to come with a script. Speak from your heart. And we will try to get as many speakers in before we bring the proceedings to a close at 7 p.m. so that we can go live via La Hoqueta Talparo. So can I invite the first speaker, the first person from the audience to come on the platform and give your piece. Who will be first? Liana? No, any question you want to come up on the platform here? Speak to the audience, not to the... Right, so come. Could you come? Could you come, please? Yeah, we will answer after.
Yes.
We'll take a note.
Okay. Okay, I a little bit short, so I had to put this down, right? All right. Even though I am a UNC senator, I just want to firstly congratulate my economist friend, Brother Siri Ram, for an outstanding, insightful presentation. And secondly, oh my God, we just found our next platform speaker. Oh Lord, Dominic. Well done, Dominic. I just have one comment and one question for my economist brother here. The first is a comment on the property tax, because I heard both members speak about property tax. And I just wanted to remind the population that just recently, and Senator Mark can attest to this, just recently we came to the Parliament to listen to a mama guy from the PNM, the fellow they call the short man, called Mimbert, who came to the Parliament and in the Senate where we debated to tell the country that he cares about the country, so therefore they are going to wean the property tax in. So, as you know, property tax, for those who don't know, property tax is a percentage, it's a formula that ends up as a percentage on our annual rental value. And that percentage initially was at 3% of the annual rental value. There's a calculation, but I'm just breaking it down to the basics for you. 3%. So Colin Mimbert came to the parliament and said, no, we listened to the cries of the people and we are going to wean it in. So we are going to take it from 3% and we are going to put it to 2%. Now, what he expects from the population is to say, thank you, massa. Thank you, massa, for sparing us. But you know he didn't tell you? He didn't tell you that in that same legislation, he has the power, the Minister of Finance has the power at any point in time to take it from 2% back to 3% and as high as 10% of the annual rental value. Because the opposition, your opposition, stood up and asked him, where is the ceiling? Where is the ceiling that you are giving yourself? But the question, so I just want to clarify that to you, to let you know it's a mama guy they coming with that property tax. They're coming for you. You give them the vote, and come 2025, you give them the vote and take God out your thoughts. That is it. Back up 3 and 4%. But the question I have for the economists today, my brother, Siri Ram, is we spoke about the deficit. And you spoke about the fact that what the government does not take into account when they look at revenues minus expenditure is this capital loan payments back. But I wanted to ask you as well, too, if things such as VAT refunds owing to manufacturers by law from the government of Trinidad and Tobago, as you know, they have by law to pay VAT refunds back to manufacturers, right? If they don't do it within 6 months, then they are supposed to pay interest. They are given a penalty of 1% every month thereafter. And so therefore, if the government, which currently owes over 6.5 billion in VAT refunds, were to, by law, pay that money back within the year, and if the government was meant also, by law, to pay contractors the billions of dollars that they are owing them, tell me, does that impact the deficit even worse? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Yes. Can we ask somebody, my friend? You want to come? No, we're taking all those questions and we will answer at the end of the exercise.
Hi, good day. My name is Marcy McLean. I'm from the St. Joseph constituency. I would like to touch on issues facing our youth. I have a 25-year-old who is living in Boston right now. He was born in the States. However, I still feel for the youths who have to stay at home, who have to grow up here. The youths after school. During COVID, he would correspond with his fellow college students. And I'm talking about some of them who are in the 1%. They were crying. They were crying, you know? So, yeah. The children who have left school, search yourselves. Your children, your daughters, your sons, your cousins, what are they doing? What are their aspirations? What are their goals? Do they even have goals? People would ask me, so when your son coming back, why? Why should he come back? To what? I just still looking at the Olympics, and I remember when our Senator Anil Roberts was the Minister of Sports. 10 medals.
Yeah.
We got 10 medals. The pause raising. It was medal after medal after medal after medal. Oh, it's just coincidence. When else has that happened? When else has that happened? I remember him saying, because he was also on the radio, that he would call the coaches and said, this is due so-and-so time. When are you going to bring it in? And then those who ignored that, he would contact the office and say, come in. So it's not just, well, we go pass it off on the coaches. Well, they didn't think the form on time. Your job is to serve us. Yes. And he was serving us. Yes. Right? How many Olympians have represented us in this Olympics? Call a name. This is sad, you know. When it has to do with entrepreneurship and careers of our youths, what? They have no support if they want to do a business. They have no, well, we have where we can go and get training for, well, I did masonry, I did electrical, and I did plumbing. All right? And I see other youths doing that too, but still, I'm a senior, across 60. I'm a senior, so I do it for my benefit, my personal benefit. But the youths, they go and get those training, and where are they going to work? For what salary? Can they maintain a home with that? Can they maintain a home? Okay, so the youths leave school, they take A-levels, they go to university, and what? Go and work at a fast food place? Where they going? Frustration. I'm not saying all the youths are going to turn to crime, but just think, put yourself as a youth. You're watching what the government is doing. They're telling us don't break the law. And they're doing what? And getting money, not being held accountable for stealing, outright stealing. Before it used to be under the table stealing. Now it's bold-faced stealing. And they're making all kind of stupid excuses. Okay? So when they look at that, what do you feel to yourself? That you should be an honest citizen with integrity? No, you want your piece of the pie too. And then now you're vexed because you did all what you were supposed to do. Granted, let's say you get your A-levels and you do all what you were supposed to do, try to take your little trade and do the honest route, and you can't support your family. You can't support your family, right? And then, so what are you left to do? You know, what are you left to do? You know, recreation. I remember I brought my son here from the States on his 9th birthday. And what are they for the youths? The mall, the beach, cinema. That is it. There are no programs for youths. I was so glad I didn't bring him earlier. There are no programs for youths. The schools are derelicts now. My son, when he went to primary school, said, Mommy, I stopped drinking water because I don't want to go to the toilet. It has faces on the wall. And he went to one of the better primary schools. I wouldn't call his school name, because they tried hard. Then he passed on to Fatima, thank the Lord. Because Father Gregory, a tough one. Tough. School clean, school nice. All right? But they're not all that lucky. So I'm just saying we need to pay more focus on developing the minds of our youths. Create places for them to go with art and with culture. We have so much talented people here. Let's at least plant that seed where they don't need outside help in being, outside meaning the government and stuff, in being stimulated to do better. You know? Let's try, because it makes me sad, although my son is out of it, it still makes me sad. It makes me, his friends are still here, you know? Come on, we have to do better, you know? Thank you.
You know, as my sister was speaking, or our sister was speaking, you know, I remember Dr. Martin Luther King telling us in a very famous statement, he said, injustice anywhere is an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And that's the point that she's making. And so let us invite our colleagues come, my colleague who's coming up here now, and then we'll go to the next person after. Your name and which
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Martin Legion from Aruka. I am a retiree from UE, and I'm involved in a lot of research and development, patenting, intellectual property, and so on. So when they're talking about diversification, I know about that. I am living that. And firstly, I want to commend the UNC. I want to commend them and all those people who are fighting for this nation, despite all the obstacles and difficulties. And when I watch at Parliament and I see how they have to face that speaker and so on, yes, when they have to, anyway, that is another thing. I would like to see us really work on diversification of diversification. And too often, you see in a lot of workshops and conferences and so on, they bring in a lot of people from outside. And only last week or 2 weeks ago, the university had something with the IPO office. And I keep asking, how much money has been spent on bringing in people from abroad over the last 20 years? And how much have we implemented in all that we have heard? How much have we implemented? So I got a grant. The university they offered grants under the RDF. And in it, I was hoping that we could come up with a full program that was generated locally. That we had the idea, it would include students from faculties, 5 faculties, mechanical engineering, civil engineering, business, law, and a critical thing would have been publication. So I knew exactly what I was going to do. I knew everything about what I would. But I wanted these students to form themselves in a team. And they would have been recording everything. So that the publication now would have been something generated from almost everything that you're going to have experienced. So when we would not have been calling on people from abroad now to come and do things, we would have had everything written down. Every single thing, even when you go to the toilet. You understand? Take, for instance, the steel pan. I won't be long. The steel pan. When you talk about the steel pan, I know about the steel pan. I grew up in Israel. I remember these people would be tuning pan under breadfruit tree or mango tree. And you know what it is next to? The latrine. And I remember this fella, Samuel, he went to Mexico. And he would go by the Chinese man and say, give me a bread and open it with the butter knife. You know what I mean? Yes. All he could afford was the bread. He couldn't afford to put nothing. So he opened it with the butter knife. And he would be having that around 11 o'clock. So he had breakfast and lunch in one. So when the pan was not properly recorded, the history of it. So that is one of the things that we should have been using to be able to take people from idea straight to commercialization. Because it went through every experience, everything that you would have experienced. The pan, we'll be short now, competition. The pan went like this. Yeah? And I want to write a story. The pan went like this. This fella knocking a pan. And a woman come and say, what are you doing? He said, I don't know what you're doing. She said, I know what you're doing. You're making a set of bloody noise in my child head and my head and that. But little did he know that he was developing something that was scientific. A pan is something scientific, you know. I remember Professor MBA brought a steel pan made in Sweden, and I sent him an email yesterday. Over 40 years ago, a full stainless steel pan, synced with all the notes. But the main thing was that the material itself could not accommodate the note because the pan had to be under stress for you to get the note. So thanks for listening. God bless you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, can I ask Owen, Owen, come. As now about to call you, come. Your name and your community or your constituency.
Good night, everyone. My name is Junior Godfrey Hyde, known as Love in the House on the radio. Okay. Good night to Senator Mark and all the rest of the Senate. I want to waste my time. I could put the mic by my heart and talk from my heart. Okay, here we are. When you're saying $500 billion spent, people only saying that, but people only thinking how much people that money at the shop is 1.4 million people here. Mix up that with $500 billion and see how much money that really is. And watch and see which part of that money is spent in Trinidad and Tobago. Watch and see which part of that money was invested in your community or your children. That will be have to watch and see. Watch and see which part of that money do anything good for you. What I want to tell the UNC, Kamala Prasad Bisesa, is we need she, because I represent in Laventille West. I want to tell them we need she. Don't make people feel we don't need the update. There are some people up there who, well, we know we can't turn them back. Not even God can save everybody. We know that. But the youths and them, they're depending on you. Because they know how it was when it was there. They know how it was. They know how it was. It's plain for everybody to see. And we ain't letting no people who make the covenant and the agreement with the PNM and the grave saying they will dare that PNM. We ain't making them up shock we. We ain't making them up shock we. They didn't want that. Them youth and them want to see the Honorable Kamala Prasad Bisesa in Laventille. You're welcome there. We need you there. We need you there. And we need us more than ever because at the end of the day, we pray for 2025 to come. I want the PNM still come and tell we win off the back. That with the children and them saying, oh, they don't come around campaign saying vote for, they say win off we back. Don't depend on the government, we love handout. Tell we these things still because we're going behind the UNC. We don't need no PNM again. Stick to who make the covenant and the agreement with the PNM and the grave. Or they go ahead with that. I sure that can win an election. The majority of the people need the UNC, especially the youth, right? Love in the house. I have more than this to say no. Okay. This is just from the heart. This is nothing planned, but I have it ready. Download. That's why I'm telling you, right? We're waiting for election. Just call an election day, Dr. Rowley. You know that. You're frightened. We're afraid. You have nothing to campaign on. What you could say you do for we. For 9 years in the parliament, I have an MP. I never hear him in the parliament for one day agitating for nothing for your constituency. Like saying I want Jane fix up in Laventille. I never hear that. I hear Khadija and them. I hear all of them agitate for things for the constituency. But I never hear it from no PNM minister. Never. I wonder if you understand why I now say that. I never hear no PNM minister in the parliament agitating for nothing for the constituency. I hear the opposition doing it. And we vote for, look at it, when Kamala come in power, we didn't even vote for Kamala in Laventille. And she deal with me full 100 from day one. From day one. You have to be ungrateful to say otherwise. And I'm not ungrateful. I don't care about people, you know. This is not about making fun of, it's the fact here. Right? This is just the fact. This is not no jokey thing. And I talking for no fame or no nothing. It's why I seeing. And we, me, my children, constituency, we part of this. We part of this nasty system where they're setting up here, plain for you to see. And we say no more. No more, no more. So the Honorable Kamala Prasad Bisesa for Laventille. East-West corridor is yours. Let them die hard. PNM die the PNM. That is all. Right? So love in your house. Good night. More than something.
Yes, we have 30 more minutes before we join live coverage. La Hokata Talparo. Who is next? Jason? Liana? Come forward, ma'am. And then Dr. Cruikshank, I want you to come after. Yes, name?
Okay, Adana Richards is the name. St. Anne's, Cascade, Monrepose West is the area. I just want to say good night to the panel, and I have a question for the elite economists. The question is that, have you ever heard in the history of the entirety of the world, or the universe, let's put it that way, that anybody has ever taxed the country back into wealth? That's one. The other part I would like to address is, in Cascade, St. Anne's area, we have mountainy areas, right? Number one, I don't know who did the schematics for the community center, but it's below sea level, right? We have people in this country that really need to buck up on their shoes, because what we need is our future, as the lady said. If we have children abroad coming back home, they don't want to come back, there's nothing here for them. We're having a brain drain, right? All of our children are traveling and leaving, right? What are we going to end up with? 80-year-olds, 60-year-olds, who's going to run the government after the next couple of years? Who are they training in position for that? The other part I'm going to say, there's nowhere in history that when you have a balance, right? You know what this is, right? A scale. Move this, which is the middle class, and this is what happens. So there's no way you could stay up here forever. Note to self, that is for the elites, that is for the normal man, and that is for the middle class. We have lost it. Who want to say PNM to the dead? Who want to say whichever way to the dead? Understand, if you do not buck up now, we all will die. If it's not for the future of our youths, we're going to have a problem. Yeah? We're watching children falling. We're watching children falling on this side. That's a generation people going missing. Right? Just saying. We have to focus. We're hungry. We're seeing the roads bad. They want to tax you. I make a joke last night. Just last night I made a joke. I'm going to say this quickly. They're going to tax you just now for air. If you ain't careful. With your eyes wide open, they will tax you for your air. God put rain from the sky. They're desalinating water, sea salt, and then telling you have to pay for water. In 2020, oh my God, we almost at 2025. It have people in this country have no current, no water, no roads properly, and we have a pitch lake, by the way. Do you know how shameful it is when my cousin from Europe, who controlling, they live and drive on the Autobahn to know that pitch come from Trinidad? And when they come here, it's bam, bam, bam everywhere. We're not ashamed. And we have elderly people understand this. If you continue, you will have no NIS. You'll have nothing. You're going to start to look like the Haitians and them, and are very serious about it. If we continue, our youths have nothing to look forward for. Putting a program and training a society of equipment. Do you know that Trinidad used to make cars, cloth, plastic, bauxite, sugar, rice? Do you all know what we used to export before all these people come here? Do you all have an idea what we're sitting down on? When they come in the last time, they say they have no money. You ever hear anybody running a bank or running a country when they have no money? You ain't coming in at all. Let me be real. This is the richest island in the hemisphere of the Caribbean. You're sitting on a gold mine and allowing just a few to run your lives. Wake up. Support what is right. And as this young gentleman said here, your heart. If you can't have empathy, you can't support and control people, and you can't run people. If you put people there to help you to run a country, that's what it's supposed to do, be taking care of the burgesses. Right? They're supposed to go to the UN and speak on our behalf, not the other way around. People must never talk down, but pull up. This society has gone down, way, way down. We lose culture, we losing faith. Our carnival has been turned into a joke. I am a mask designer by trade. And when I went to China and see that, and they tell you that $5,000 years ago, costumes used to cost $1,500. Right? Booby and beads you're playing in. Where's the culture? The gentleman say about the pan. If you know the history of our culture, you will not disrespect it and disrepute it in such a manner. I am speaking for my country. I am a Trinidadian. Any part of the world we go, we succeed. And it's hurtful to sit down and watch our own elderly, our own middle, and our poor sitting down accepting things that we shouldn't accept. Please tell me tonight, Trinidad and Tobago, go to sleep in all the beds and tell me the only island in the Caribbean we can get US. The only island in the Caribbean food just keep going up and up. Why is that? Because we don't plant our own food. Why is that? Because we import all the time. And every day you go to the grocery, you see $1 missing, then you see it going up. And next furthermore, where are you going to get taxed into? I ask you again, if it's air. Sit back and relax in your house and say, I have to go to work. Whoever go there, well, however it hang it swing. By the time you blink, you'll be looking like Haiti. I'm very serious. Or you're going to be looking like Venezuela. Right? And we, the taxpayers, pays for everything in this country. Please, note to self, our money runs this country. Yeah. The last thing I'm going to leave with you all is a statement. Hold on 1 second. Evil triumphs when good men do nothing. The evil you do remains with you, and the good you do comes back to you. So don't feel we just fall off our breadfruit tree and roll here to have others that bring us here on this earth. When we disrespect the honorable God himself, right? God is a Trinity, but we get in the licks another way and all you're not seeing it through the blood in our streets. Pay attention, people. And I'm going to say it one last time. Pay attention. Evil triumphs when good men do nothing. Thank you, Mr. Wayne Mark. Well, they have to. Because if you continue down this road, we're in trouble.
All right, Liana, would you like to make a contribution at this time? Please.
Good evening to everyone, my family, my UNC family, Trinidad and Tobago. Because it's not just about UNC, it's about everybody. When I was a shadow counselor for Belmont East, it never mattered that it's just Belmont East and that is UNC. It's about everybody. Oh, sorry. Liana Bar Gonzalez. I'm not from a area anymore. I am representing North and West, St. Anne's West as the chairperson. I used to be Belmont East UNC counselor, shadow counselor that is. Now, to me, representing my country or my constituency is about everybody. It doesn't matter whether it's UNC, PNM, or whosoever. It's about our people. And you have to stop thinking about this, I am a PNM forever. It's about everybody. Because if it don't affect you, someday it will affect your children. You are living now and it ain't affecting you, the PNM, so-called PNM, who believe that they will die being a PNM. But in the future of your generation, you don't know what will happen. You are not God, because God builds and God breaks down. And you see what's going on now? It's time for him to break down this PNM government that's killing everybody. The education system, I have studied in a university, and you could sit down there and study how much degrees, master degree, all the degrees, you could go right around 360 degree studying. And when you come out of that degree, you ain't sure to get a job. And even if you get a job, you might get something that ain't even paying you what you work for all them years studying. I could tell you I'm an example standing here. I had to take what I get. But I love what I do. My passion is teaching. My passion is educating. And even working with people in my community. If all these senators or all the councillors and them get off their butt and do what they're supposed to do in the communities, the people wouldn't even have to worry about who they voted for. Because even when I was in Belmont East, go on as people might call for help. Because you have friends all about, not so? Marcus, North Coast might ask me for help. Las Cuevas, all I have to do is communicate to the right people. Because we are all one, working towards making a better Trinidad and Tobago. But people need to get off their butt. I'm being serious. Everybody just pointing finger and blaming this one, blaming that one, and oh, this one ain't doing that. But what are we doing for our own country as citizens? Are we going to sit down and point finger or come together in unity and do something and stand up and say enough is truth? That we are fed up? Words are just, everybody could say fed up every day. Everybody could say enough is enough. You sit down with your partners in your community and you see people watching, people killing one another right there. And you sit down there and you can't say a word because you're not sure if your family will be next. Every day I'm seeing things on my WhatsApp about who killing who and all these people, young people. My son learned how to do, what do you call it? Building tech, because they have all these fancy names for subjects now. He loved building boats. You think he could go and get a job building any boats? Eh? Big certification. Foolishness, the education as the young man, or somebody was talking about the young lady actually, about her son going abroad and stuff. If you do not put things in place for these children, young people when they leave school, or put a system in the education where they could have experience while at school learning whatever trade that they are doing, or whatever job class they want, how could they have experience when they go out there after that? Nobody wants to hire them because they don't have experience, but then you have to give them training and experience. That is why there's a way it's called it an internship. So the education system, while preparing your children for whatever job class they want, should have systems in for internships for these children, just like how the Americans and all these other countries do, and train these children minds towards education and the job class that they want to go into. You're not doing that. You get in a set of passes, and when you go out there, they're watching you and tell you no experience. Who you know? You only get in a job based on who might know you. So we have to stand together as a nation, not just talking about crime. Look, I'm watching on a WhatsApp video. This young man, the woman and the man fighting. And that man watched this woman in the house, just out the door, stab up this woman. She sit down there breathless. Go inside. If he find the knife, he stab shop wasn't enough, get a big Chinese chopper, and chop up the woman, pull she inside the house. Purebred murder. And a camera viewing this. And the laws that they have, these intellectual laws that they have, they're entitled to be set free. because the criminal like that more rights than you? What are we going to keep on accepting Trinidad and Tobago? Especially when voting coming to take place in the Port of Spain area. Oh, it's a strong PNM hole. We UNC have no power to win in the Port of Spain district. I've done this 3 times. People run up and down with me 3 times. I've gone up in the crevices of places I never went. And they're walking with me, putting on the yellow jersey. And when voting time, they're going red. Why? Because they can pay them $400 to vote the same day, and $600 whenever, whoever could do it. Because you're only thinking about the here and now. Get wise people in each community, not just Belmont, not just St. James, not just all Aruka, all these places. Everybody in Trinidad have to get wise. And if you don't put God first in your equation, you're in a hell of a mess. You must put God first. Religion not going to save nobody, you know. It's your relationship with God will save you and your community. Thank you.
Do I have Jason to make a final intervention, or anybody else? Anybody else? Anybody else would like come forward, please? And then after you, I'll ask Vade to just give his responses to my colleague.
Pleasant night, everybody. Kevin Allen is the name. And I'm from where they say if you put a goat in a suit, they go in that area. I'm from Laventille. 49 years now, I never live anywhere else. And I see what Laventille have, what Laventille supposed to have, and what the city go give and what they ain't give. I've seen a prime minister from the minute he come into power start to gangster citizens. Tighten your belt. The back pay where you deserve, where you work hard for and paying hours for, you could get it, but you go lose your work. A finance minister saying, we raise it and then riot, we go raise it again and we just might raise it again. A national security minister was telling you it's not his responsibility to keep us safe. I am a dock worker. And we're facing a privatization that might come soon. We don't know when, but there's a lot of uncertainty going on in the wharf. And what I'm seeing is businesses to the highest bidder, industries to the highest bidder. The pitch lake gone, we ensure going on with Port Authority. So what I'm seeing is a strategic plan to pauperize, sell to the highest bidder, no pension, no security, modern day slavery. That is what it is I see. And if you want to just sit back, if we want to sit back and allow that, then SAD will be portion. SAD will be our portion. So I see PNM spend 9. I am not politically affiliated. I am a patriot. And whoever for the country, that is who I am for. Right? Whoever for the country, that is who I am for. So if we want to just sit back and say we're PNM till we're dead and UNC till we're dead and we're really not seeing the benefits of that, wherever we get, we will take. So it's either we get up and make a change, or we just sit back and lie down and wait for them to throw dirt on top of it. Like we open our eyes, people, and do what is right. Because there's one set of people benefiting from this, you know. And as the lady before rightfully said, people go into school and study, and when they come out, they have no job. It's because this one know you, or your father know this one, you get a little play, and they're just taking everything away from us. So let me open our eyes and try to do the right thing, people. Have a good day.
Yeah. Let us put our hands together for all our contributors who came here this evening and made their contribution. Let us put our hands together. I would now like to call on my colleague Ved Siram to come to the mic, and if you can just give his perspective in response to some of the issues raised by our colleagues who came before you this evening. And then I'll ask Dominic to also make a few closing remarks, and then we'll close down the proceeding. So, Ved, you can take over.
Senator, thank you so much for that question. Because if you can understand and answer that question, the budget, the secrets of the budget will be revealed, right? But when you go to the bank, and they ask you for your debt, debt is liability, what you owe the other banks, what you owe for your car, what mortgage you have in a mortgage house, all of that must be included. Now, why it must be included is because you are dealing with cash flows. Now, you can't tell that in that formula is only your bank debt that counts, because they're not forgiving you otherwise you have to pay. So that debt must be liabilities. Now, it's very interesting because you have to include VAT refund. But guess what the government is doing? No, they might pay the old one, but the new one's coming on the books. So liabilities is a balance sheet item that you monitor that at least on a monthly basis. So you must include that in the debt. What about contractors' payment? What about due to cane farmers? They're still owing cane farmers 300 million. And I would like you all to take that up for us. Pay your debts. And what about credit on other credit that you're taking from suppliers and so on? So all I'm saying is the ratio as we presently use is bogus. The debt is understated. And there are two ways to calculate debt to GDP. I don't agree with both, but at least there's one better. Your total debt, let's look at the GDP. GDP belongs to the whole country. That is government, business, and household. So why are you only putting government debt over those three? Why don't you put the debt of government, of the household, and businesses, and then calculate it properly? But over the years, politicians have just said, which is the one that look better? And they discard the real one. So I'll be glad to work with you all and ask these questions, because then you will know what is perilous state of our finances in Trinidad and Tobago.
Good afternoon again, everyone. Just a few comments based on the notes I took. I'll start with the gentleman he says he works at the dock, at the port, and he brought up an interesting issue that we're having under this current administration, and that is the selling off of assets that are our own. And the reason why that is important is because, as anyone in finance would tell you, you sell an asset at its highest point, not at its lowest. Right? So if we are selling our assets, Petrotrin, for example, 4+ years after it is no longer as effective, as well maintained as it is, you have to ask the question, why is it that they're selling our most prized assets for less than market value at a time at which it should be restored, right? And so who are they planning to sell those assets to? Those are the questions that we need to ask. And so there are many allegations that might come from such questions. Who are the persons who are bidding for those assets? Whose interests are the heart of the selling of those assets? And those are key questions that citizens need to ask, right? When you speak about Petrotrin, when you speak about the privatization of the dock, when you speak about the selling of someone mentioned the pitch lake as well to Chinese stakeholders, etc. These are natural resources that we have as a country because we are based on oil and gas. We have an acquired advantage of having oil and gas. Now the question with Forex, if you look at the data and when we started having issues with this Forex crunch, quote unquote, and it affects all of us, right? Because what has happened over the last 9 years is that we've had a mismanaged petroleum sector. As a result of that, in the past, our demand for Forex has been maintained, has been consistent. Our supply of Forex has declined. And why is that? It's because we can no longer depend on oil and gas in terms of revenue to create buoyancy in the Forex economy, right, in the Forex industry. So, just some housekeeping. We are stopping our stream here, so those online can join us in the Brazil secondary at 7 p.m. Okay? So just a public announcement. So yeah, so the issue as it relates to Forex is one of the government has not created additional alternative revenue streams, which are foreign exchange earners. And so the demand has stayed the same, and now we have the supply has decreased. So that is the issue that we have in Trinidad.
Make sure the talk is done now. Time to start back the work now. All the talk done, all the talk done. Work nation! We fed up by these people.